Okay. So, Mr. and Mrs. Maxwell, after going through your financial plan, there's a couple recommendations I want to make, and there's actually one I want to go over in general, and it's the estate planning. Now, from my notes, it looks like you mentioned that you haven't done much estate planning. You've left everything in your simple wills, leaving everything to probate to each other. And if you want to know if you're prepared, either if both of you should die in the event, and making sure your assets get passed on to your children. So, this is something I'm glad you guys brought to my attention, and I absolutely can come up with three priorities you should have in order to create at least get a good starting point for a successful estate planning. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is the titling of your assets. Now, after going through our notes and glancing at the statement of your financial position, it looks like Sherry inherited IRA and her 403B are using her estate as her beneficiary. The same goes with Keith's IRA as well. Now, this is something I suggest changing as soon as possible. In the event that you or your spouse die, uh, since those assets are in a simple will, or I'm sorry, or sorry, since those assets are having her beneficiary as the beneficiary um, as the estate, those assets will go to probate. Now, probate is something we want to avoid at all cost, specifically because let's see, is basically because it's costly and complex. You know, it could potentially delay the assets getting properly distributed to your children. And probate's a public process, which is something that could be make it uncomfortable for an individual, and we want to avoid that definitely at all cost. I also noticed that Uncle Jay's is titled as community property, and this is something that I think is very beneficial for you guys in the event that, let's say, Keith passes away. Sherry, I'm not sure if you'll be able to run the restaurant or anything like that, but what's nice about it is if he does pass away, you will get a step up in basis equal to the fair market value of the property, and then you'll be able to sell that while also getting very favorable tax treatment as well. And then you can use that money to, either pay for college funds, put into savings, put into retirement. We can cross that road when we have to. Okay. Now, the second thing I want to consider is creating a trust. Now, I want to create a revocable living trust for you guys. So, the advantages of creating a trust is, like, again, it's going to make sure that your assets get distributed correctly to your children. And also, you can design the trust where they can get, and you can distribute it how you specifically want each child to receive their inheritance, which is very useful if you have a child, let's say, that likes to spend a lot. Um, or you have one that may not necessarily need the money all at once. So there's definitely different ways you can structure these trusts in order so that we can specifically make sure that these assets get distributed to your children correctly. Also, with the trust too, you can designate it. You will have to designate a trustee. And the benefit of having a trustee is they'll be able to help you make financially sound decisions on your investments, and then they'll also know what to do in the event that you die. They'll know how to distribute those assets to your children and make sure everything is fine. The third and final thing I would suggest for your estate planning is to designate a durable power of attorney and a durable power of attorney for healthcare. Now, the reason you need a durable power of attorney is because when one of you become incapacitated, it's important to designate an individual to handle the execution of your wills and wishes. Now, it can also happen. Sorry, it can also help happen. Um, it can also help with the possible family conflicts that may arise. Uh, Generally helps protect your assets from creditors, um, and it's basically there's a couple things that you need to meet the requirements. So, for instance, you have to be a minimum of 18 years old, and you have to be legally competent. One thing to note here is that the durable power of attorney doesn't survive the death of the principal, and it's important to distinguish between what incapacity is and what a disability is. So, basically, in order for a durable power of attorney to be in to be in action, the principal has to be incapacitated. Now, incapacitated is defined as the absence of legal ability to act, while disability, which is defined as the physical inability to enact. So, like I said, in order for a durable power of attorney to be able to act, the individual has to be legally incapacitated. Now, this could be, for example, Alzheimer's, dementia, and that nature. So, then the second durable power of attorney for healthcare, the reason you need this one is because with the durable power of attorney, it's used more for property management. Now, the durable power of attorney, as in the name, durable power of attorney for healthcare, they're more specifically geared for healthcare situations. So, you generally want two different people being your durable power of attorney. So, someone that's maybe more financially sound that can handle the property management, and then you want somebody else specifically designated for the durable power of attorney for healthcare that can help in making those tough health decisions in the event that you become incapacitated. And I think that's all I have on the estate planning. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.